Good morning. Let's drive to Brisbane. So much room for activities. I was like sent straight into survival mode. Hi guys, Hannah here. Welcome to my video and to my channel. A lot has happened since the last time I spoke to you. So I'm currently in Sydney. I grew up in Sydney. I moved to Brisbane in 2019, lived there for 5 years, moved back to Sydney at the start of this year. I've lived here now for 6 months and I don't like it here. Sydney is not for me. Sydney, it did not turn out to be as positive an experience as I had hoped it would be. And so last week I took a trip to Brisbane and found a rental for me to stay in. The way my mood just like immediately lifted when I got to Brisbane, I was like, yeah, okay, this is what I have to be doing. I was worried that I was just like romanticizing Brisbane, but no, it was such an immediate dopamine hit. I just love it there so much. So I'm gonna follow my happiness, follow my joy, and I'm gonna let it take me to Brisbane. So I've been packing up a lot of my stuff. I won't be able to take all of my stuff with me to Brisbane. I'm moving into a furnished apartment. There isn't a lot of storage, which I'm kind of concerned about. So I'm just packing up like the main things. I'll be like properly moving the rest of my stuff to Brisbane next year when I move to a different property, back to my old apartment actually. For now, I'm just trying to like pack as much as I can into my car, and honestly it's a tight squeeze and it's a little bit stressful. So today is Saturday, I leave on Sunday. I got back from my trip to Brisbane on Wednesday night and I ran a kids party earlier today. So really I had Thursday, Friday, half of Saturday to pack up my entire life in Sydney and like finish my library book so I could return my library books to the library. It has been chaotic. Please excuse, I feel like my eyebrows look a little bit crazy. They're darker and larger because I was wearing a darker wig earlier today, so please excuse how crazy they look. Good morning. Let's drive to Brisbane. Tell everybody I'm on my way. New friends and new places to see. I feel like because this whole process has been kind of rushed, I feel like it's not really hit me that I'm moving to Brisbane. Like, I'm moving to Brisbane. I'm literally moving interstate and I'm just like, bye guys. Like, I really truly meant to update you guys more yesterday, but I was just so incredibly exhausted. I drove from Sydney's northern beaches to Emerald Beach yesterday, which is a long drive. My GPS told me it was going to take 6 hours, but you know, I had stops and it definitely took longer than 6 hours of driving. And so last night I checked into my Airbnb. It's really cute, just a little studio, perfect for what I need it for. And then it's now about 7:15 and I've packed up. I'm gonna go find somewhere for breakfast. I really need some fresh food in me. I had cereal for breakfast yesterday, KFC for lunch, Easy Mac for dinner. I had no fresh food at all yesterday and I'm really feeling it. So, I don't know, even an avocado on toast, like give me something fresh. Guys, I am so excited to be heading back to Brisbane. It's like I finally unlocked my personality again. I don't know if it would have come across in my videos or not. I feel like maybe it kind of did, but I like completely lost myself for the first 6 months of this year. It's now like June 16th or something, and yeah, up until now I feel like I have completely lost myself in Sydney. I became the person who needs permission to do anything. Very much a symptom of living with my parents. That is the person I always am around my parents. So thank God we're out of there. Love my parents, very grateful for them letting me stay with them, but not good for my brain. So I'm very excited to connect with myself a little bit more, feel more myself, get my independence back, because that has not been very strong recently. Let's go get some breakfast. Oh, and yesterday I saw a wallaby. So cute, just so cute.
Sit on my bed, I got nothing to do. Take out my phone, 1 second, right to you. I'm really bored, please don't ignore. Started as fun, now I randomly know you love rainy days and you still live at home. It's cool to see you're real with.
Can we just for a second talk about what a miracle it is that I fit all of that in my car? I've arrived at my new humble abode. It's 3:15. I'm a little sweaty. I brought all my stuff in. I've done the entry report and looked at the inventory list. Unfortunately, there is someone parked in my car space, but I don't really want a confrontation right now, so we'll worry about that later. I think first things first, I should probably go do a bit of a grocery shop, get some like basics like hand soap and toilet paper and a loofah for the shower, basic things like that so that I can settle in. Of course, also some food. I had like a large fries from Macca's for lunch and now I'm like, it's a bit early for dinner, but like a bit late for a full lunch. Actually, maybe not, because I might be up all night unpacking. We'll see. Again, I am absolutely mind blown that I fit that in my teeny tiny little car. I'll give you the tour of what it looks like right now. It's got things everywhere, so please ignore that. This is what it looks like at the front door. I did have to pull out the induction stovetop to make sure it worked for the entry report. I've never used an induction cooktop before, so I had a little bit of a learning moment there, but this is the kitchen. It's a little kitchenette. There's a common area that's got like a full oven and stovetop, but this is just the one that's in the individual units. We've got a lovely little courtyard area here with a clothesline, which I'm not a big fan of clotheslines, but I guess I might have to be given that the space is pretty small and that's pretty much all I've got. And then this is the living room with all of my stuff everywhere. Please ignore that. The artwork is not necessarily my style, but it's like such a blessing that it's pink because that's gonna make me feel way more at home. I'm looking forward to very many naps on that couch there, a TV. I of course brought my PlayStation so I can hook that up there. Little dining table. All the plants are fake, thank God. I don't have the pressure of keeping a real plant alive, although there's the courtyard plants outside. Let's hope I keep those alive. The bathroom is actually quite nice. It's quite spacious. They left this random roll of toilet paper in the vanity. I don't know why that's there, but thanks guys, I guess. We out here looking like a hot mess right now, but we're getting things done. I am very excited to have a full vanity. A lot of the units that I looked at, like 1 bedroom sort of units, all had like these teeny tiny little vanities that just like came to the edge of the sink and that was it. There was like no drawers, no space. This has space behind the mirror as well, which is fabulous. We love. Look at how giant this shower is. I'm sorry, I don't know if it will really come across on camera, but hang on. I just feel like, okay, there's a diagonal wall here, but if I stand here, I put one hand on it, like I can fully spread out. Is that reading on camera? I can like fully spread out. Almost fully spread out this way. Just like so much room for activities. And then the bedroom. We've got this bed ensemble. Again, diagonal wall, which is very frustrating. I'm thinking I might move the bedside from that side to free up a little bit more space. Here, I also kind of want to get a hanging rack, but I'm not sure if there'll be enough space between the bed and here. We'll have to wait and see about that because the wardrobe is teeny tiny. We've got the shelves along the side here, which is fabulous. But then there's this random little column in the middle of the wardrobe, which means that my hanging space is like, what, a meter wide? Which is fine if you don't love fashion as much as I do. So hopefully I'll be able to find something useful to put in this space here. Also, shout out to this fan. I don't know, something about the design of that fan is just like really fun to me. Look at the shape of those blades. It's like little kitchen knives, butter knives. So that is my new little 1 bedroom unit. welcome, welcome. They've also already booked an inspection. There's an inspection happening here next week, which I'm like, why are you already inspecting after a week of me being here? I assume it's just like already scheduled in, but yeah, my new home.
Been to California, never been to LA, so I'll stay home and write these songs, pretend I'll make it someday. My friends are getting married, they're all settling down, so I'll lay here, watch the ceiling fan go round and round. It's always gone too fast, like a trip to the beach or the life of James Dean. And it kills me to think I'm avoiding the pill I can't swallow.
And my brand new mirror and my new lunchbox. Is it a Chaz lunchbox? Yes. Was it $7? Yes. So I just got back from a big shopping hunt. I was looking for this one particular mirror. I literally went to like 5 different stores to find it. 3 different Kmarts and 2 different Targets. My mum found it for $20 in Sydney. It was for $35 here, which is still very good. So I've got to set that mirror up. I got this diffuser from Dusk. I feel like buying things from Dusk is like such a treat. Like I never buy myself nice, fragrant sort of things, but this apartment has a weird kind of smell to it that I don't really love. So, I took the opportunity to splurge. There was a sale going on and it smells so good. I got the vanilla caramel scent, which is one of my like favorite scents ever from Dusk. I got a candle in this scent one year and I was burning it in the lead up to Christmas and on Christmas. And so this scent will just always smell so warm and festive to me. This thing isn't even open and it smells so good. I've just popped it on the unit here. I'm watching some Tinkerbell lore on YouTube. But all this other decor came with the unit. But I think that just kind of blends in there. Smells so good. So I'm gonna make some dinner. Oh, I made a unit of drawers. I got this drawer unit at Kmart last night and I just made it now and I've started filling it up. I haven't finished these bottom 3 yet. I'm gonna make dinner, I'm gonna finish that. I'm gonna make my garment rack, which I actually was planning on getting a different one, but then I found this one for $9 and I was like, you're kidding me. Usually the one that's like just like got wheels at the bottom, it's just like got no shelf. Usually those are $10, so this was $9 with a shelf and I was like, slay. So we're gonna give it a shot and then I'll make my mirror. This thing is giant. I am excited though that it's got like storage at the back. I'm thinking maybe I can put my bags at the back of the mirror and I'm thinking about putting it in this little corner just here. I would put it in my bedroom, but there's not really a lot of space here. Like if I put a rack there, I could put the mirror there instead, but then where am I gonna put the rack? So I've just finished doing a bunch of like digital errands. I've sent a bunch of emails, done some booking things I needed to do, and I got stuck scrolling, which was a very poor decision on my part. I ended up seeing something that has not been helpful for my mental state. The spiraling I have the capacity to do right now is catastrophic. So I need to get myself out of my apartment. I might take myself to Kangaroo Point and have a little walk, a little sit, I don't know, a little ponder. Maybe I'll do some journaling. I don't know. Kangaroo Point is just like one of my favorite little spots. And then I've got some groceries to grab. So let's just get out of the house. Let's get coffee, let's meet up. I'm so sick of online love. Can you play a song with a fucking beat? Hit a background on the box. You know what I mean, and you know what you need, and so does he. But does it happen? No. But does it happen? No. Well, what we really need is a feminine omenon. A what? A feminine omenon. You say, baby, no attachment, but we're knee deep in the passenger seat. That air pollution is not cute. Okay, the tea is that I have been in traffic for a very long time. I think there's been a major accident. I'm pretty sure I have missed sunset at Kangaroo Point, which I'm mad about. It's not looking good, folks. It's not looking good. Alright, so we've come to the end of the vlog, but I thought I would just sit down and have a little chat with you guys, give you a little bit of an explanation as to why I moved and how the process all went down, because it was a bit of a whirlwind and I feel like I wasn't really able to explain in a lot of detail through this vlog. So if you want some extra info, stick around. So I grew up in Sydney and moved to Brisbane in 2019 to go to uni. Went to uni for 3 years, then stayed in Brisbane for another 2 years because I just really loved it here. Brisbane, even from like the first time I visited, it just immediately felt like home, which I know is a very cheesy thing to say. There's not really anything that I can like point out that this is what I loved about it, but there are a few things, but it just, the vibe, you know, immediately just the vibes were that this is home. I had gotten to the end of my degree and realized that I didn't want to pursue musical theatre, which is what I was studying. And so then I took 2 years to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I decided to go back to speech pathology. I had originally been accepted to a course there, didn't do speech pathology, did musical theatre, and then I went, well, I'll go back to speech pathology. And then I got accepted to the Masters at UQ here in Queensland. And then I was like, whoa, that's gonna be really expensive. Maybe I should move back home to Sydney, live with my parents while I go back to uni so I can save some money. So that was really the main reason for moving back to Sydney, was to save money. I somehow miraculously forgot that within a few hours of visiting Sydney, each time I visited for like Christmas or something, I was ready to go home, like within a few hours. I just very conveniently forgot that that was a thing. So I made the decision to move to Sydney in maybe July of 2023. I went to the open day for Macquarie Uni. It was a really, really good open day. Spoke to the course coordinator. It was great. So I was gonna do 2 years of part-time bachelor and then 2 years of full-time masters. That was the plan. I was gonna work a whole bunch while I was part-time, save a whole bunch of money. I was aiming to, by the end of the 4 years, my goal, I think, was to have like 80 to 100k in my bank account, which I had like done the math and I was like, yeah, I could totally do this, which would have been a viable option if I had been able to get a job when I moved to Sydney. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. I think one of the main reasons I came unstuck with the whole moving to Sydney thing was that it was such a long time between making the decision to move and actually moving. So by the time moving came, I wasn't excited for it. I didn't want to do it, but also there had been some external circumstances that meant I wasn't in the state of mind to make that kind of big decision by myself. I had this massive heartbreak at the end of November, which I'm honestly still recovering from, I was like sent straight into survival mode. So I wasn't really able to understand the fact that moving to Sydney wasn't the right choice for me. And I will say, at this point, I was really, really sad and I was heartbroken, but I wasn't depressed. I have had like chronic depression for the past like decade. My mental health started getting dangerous and like critical just before I left Brisbane and while I was in Sydney, which I kept blaming that mental state on the heartbreak, but in reality, if it was because of the heartbreak, I would have felt that way right after the heartbreak. So there was a lot of overlap and confusion with those two situations. But yeah, it was an ugly time. It's really hard to listen to your instincts being like, Hannah, this is the wrong thing to do, while you're like packing up your life, putting all your stuff into boxes, watching the place that you love so much become so empty and devoid of you. It's really hard to listen to your instincts saying, Hannah, don't go through with this, when things were set in motion so far in advance and you no longer trust your judgment because of this heartbreak. I feel like I definitely could have picked a better place to sit. I kind of look bald. Oh well, I'm sure the only people that are sticking around are the real ones who actually like know me. So I got to Sydney. I started moving into my parents' house. I was in a terrible mental state, and then I had to go through an entire renovation process. I didn't have a home base that was like stable and like made up and like ready for me for a month. Oh, and I also forgot there was a month between me finishing work in Brisbane and moving away from Brisbane, which a month is a long time to just be like chilling out. It was supposed to be 2 weeks and then my moving date got pushed back. So then that also didn't help my mental state. I was bored. I was dreading the end of Brisbane. Not the end of my time in Brisbane. And then I moved to Sydney. It was not ideal in terms of like my physical environment has a massive impact on me. I would say more than average. And so moving into a space that felt like a war zone was the last thing that I needed for my brain. It took a month for that to happen. So I wasn't prepared to get a job during that time because I wasn't in the mental state to handle it. This was probably the period of time where I was in my like darkest situation. Meanwhile, I've got like no friends. Anyway, so then about a month after I moved to Sydney, uni started and I started looking for a job. Uni was really, really hard. It was really hard to study and feel motivated when you didn't even like want to get out of bed in the morning. I fell really far behind on my uni work. I felt like a failure because of that. It was this like self-repeating cycle. But I also had one instance at uni where I reached out for help and I got absolutely like nothing in return. I was pretty much told to do things exactly how they want it to be done or just like deal with it. So I've gone back to uni. I'm interviewing for jobs. I applied for so many jobs. I was spending like hours applying for these jobs, not hearing anything back. I had this one interview for a job that I was really, really keen on. Seemed like a great situation for me. Great pay rate, working admin, which I have experience in a speech pathology clinic, which is my like hopeful career path. So like ideal situation. They wouldn't hire me because of my uni hours. So then uni became this massive burden and the reason I couldn't get a job, which earning money was the #1 reason I moved to Sydney. That and learning at uni. And I wasn't really learning anything at uni because I couldn't focus on that because my mental health was so bad because I was in Sydney. It was just such a melting pot of horrible. I eventually got a job, a retail job. I then discovered I have ethical problems with working retail, selling products. I was working in a children's stationery store and trying to upsell all these things that I'm like, all of this is gonna end up in landfill. It was just like a really, the cognitive dissonance of that job really frustrated me. I also wasn't getting enough hours in that job, so I wasn't saving the money that I hoped to save. So there was actually this other job. There was another job that I applied for and I interviewed for, and then they told me it was going to take a month to hear back. It ended up being about a month and a half, and then it was another few weeks until I started working there. So I don't know, maybe it was like a month and a half or 2 months, the whole process between interviewing and working there. I was told the process was so long because it's a big company, they've got an HR office somewhere else. Turns out there was another girl who interviewed at the exact same time and started working the week after she interviewed. So I think they were just lying to me. But that company as a whole was just a horrible place to work. The people that we dealt with were absolutely horrid. The training was just minimal and not supportive. I got to the point where I woke up before my alarm, full of anxiety. I'd get in my car to drive to work and I'd start crying. I'd get to the front desk at my work and I'd start crying. It was just like not good. And I knew that something needed to change, but I didn't feel like I had the autonomy to make that decision, which was a product of me living in my parents' house. And I don't want to sound ungrateful, because I'm so incredibly grateful for that whole situation. Unfortunately, I became the person under my parents' roof who needs permission to do anything, just like a child does when they live with their parents. I became that old version of me. I regressed big time. So it got to the point where I went to my mom and I was like, I just like started crying to her. She wrote down 3 options. She was like, okay, you can either stay in Sydney, keep working the job that you hate. And I said, no, I can't do that. She said, okay, well, you stay in Sydney and you get another job. And I was like, oh man, I'm so tired of trying to find new jobs. I'm so like frustrated and all that. And then she said, or you can move back to Brisbane and go back to your old job. And I was like, oh, am I about to get permission? And so I contacted my old job and they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you back. And I was like, well, it's an option. There were some affordable rentals that I could find. And so after that conversation, I had had a full mental breakdown. It didn't feel like any of the options were the correct option or the ideal option, because in staying in Sydney and trying to find another job, I would inevitably be miserable for however long I stayed in Sydney. Or in moving to Brisbane, I would not be able to save anywhere near as much money. I would end up being in a worse financial position than I was when I first left Brisbane, because it took me 4 months or something. I was unemployed for 4 months before I got a job, and I wasn't working that much. So like I'd gone through so much savings. I was also going to therapy, which is very expensive. So I was like, well, both of these options suck. We decided to book some flights to Brisbane. I thought, okay, I can visit, see if I'm just romanticizing the city, because that was a big fear of mine, that I was like idealizing Brisbane, and then I'd like visit or I'd move and it wouldn't be how I remembered it. But in reality, I lived here for 5 years. I feel like I should have a pretty good idea, right? We flew to Brisbane and it was like an instant mood boost. I'd like immediately felt so much more optimistic about life. It was so cold in Sydney when we left, and then we got to Brisbane and it was so lovely and warm. The sky was completely blue and I was like, wow, thank you, I am back. Brisbane's throwing me a welcome home party. I actually did my final exam in a hotel room, like an Airbnb, and I felt so grateful and at peace for the first time all year. Sitting in that Airbnb, looking out the window at the city, I was at peace for the first time. And I was like, wow, I actually do have the capacity to feel like this still. So we managed to find a 1-bedroom rental for $450 a week, which will do me until I can move back into my old apartment. It is now Sunday. I start back at my old job tomorrow, and that is exactly what I need right now, because I've spent the past 6 months so incredibly isolated and so alone and like feeling like I have no like purpose or whatever, which I feel like interacting with people and being able to like get a feel for who I am in the world when I'm interacting with people is going to be so healthy and like necessary for me right now. So I think those are all the like big ticket items that you need to know. It was quite the ramble, but I am so excited that I am finally back in Brisbane. It just feels right. This is where I'm supposed to be. And moving to Sydney was the most expensive and stressful waste of time of my life. But we learned some very important lessons. Is the lighting better if I move it over a little bit like that? Or is that like just as bad? I don't know, doesn't matter because the video is almost over. I'm very grateful to be here. I don't know, maybe I'll bring you along for some like little corporate vlogs. I'll show you my like corporate life. I would absolutely love to like totally get back to my old life here, you know, start skating again and all that stuff. I cannot afford it. I've got to live my best budget life right now. So we're not 100% back to the old lifestyle. Oh, I just remembered another thing. I've now gotten to the point, and I was starting to feel like this in Sydney, but the fact that I still feel like that in Brisbane is not a good sign. Where I'm not even sure, like at this point, I'm not even sure if I want to go back to uni to do speech pathology. It's not exciting me, and I don't know if that's just exhaustion or if that's the reality of the situation, that it's not really the path for me anymore. I had assumed that that was a part of me living in Sydney and just like not wanting to do anything, but the fact that it has continued now that I've moved to Brisbane is interesting. So stay tuned. Who knows what the heck is happening in the future? I have no idea. All that matters is that I feel connected to myself. I am at peace and happy, just having a good time. Those are the only things that I need to focus on right now. Right now, I'm giving myself a sense of purpose and a reason to live. I hate the fact that I know for a fact that my neighbors can hear me. Big life changes all over the place right now, but I think they're good ones. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a like. Comment down below a house emoji so that I know you watched to the end, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!